Uh, okay, trying to. Okay, so good morning. Good morning. My name is Rotimi Itayo, and this is the Good Morning Education Show. We are sorry for the mix up in the technical issues that we just had. And if you're joining us, it's so great to connect with you once again live in the studios. My name is Rotimi Itayo once again, and I'd like you to let us know where you're streaming from, where you're connecting from, and to let us know your name, your location, share your conversations with us today. And of course, if you do have questions, please do not hesitate to ask your questions. We will be willing to take on your questions and your submissions today. And I believe it's going to be a great time today. And we would just have to, you know, engage ourselves. We started a series this week, and it was more or less like a commandment series. And we recognize that, of course, a lot of schools and a lot of education now professionals are actually resuming school. And because of that, we decided to take on some conversations that would really help, share perspective for everyone. And one of the things we decided to do was we took the word commandment, almost like saying what you must do per time and per period to ensure that you are on track and you are able to deliver value as much as you can. And one of the things that we talked about was we talked about service being a commandment. We talked about value being a commandment, and of course, we talked about the power and the place of team bonding. That's the team bonding commandment. And now today, we will be talking about the performance commandment. So our conversation today really is going to be centered or anchored around what I just shared. And of course, we will be joined by some of our experts and analysts who would also share. Hello, can you hear me now, Safety Chick? Okay, seems you can hear me. So, like I said in the introduction, our goal this morning is to commandment series, and hopefully we're able to, get feedbacks from that. Let me see if we have any comment already. Okay, so while we await the others to join us. I believe that if you have actually been able to, resume, it will also be nice for us to hear from you. It would be nice for us to hear your thoughts, to know your thoughts, and also feel the pulse. And while we're trying to do that, permit me to say this, that the reason we've decided to do, we actually had a road towards resumption, a roadmap towards resumption, and that actually helped us, to get a lot of people prepared. We talked about so many things that people should look at. We looked at the place of service last week. We looked at the potentials of looking at different dimensions of the school business and of the education field, to be able to ensure that people are able to get the best as much as they can get. Now, our goal and our plan is to ensure that now that people have resumed, that we're able to explore further the things that they might need to think about, the things that they might need to look at. And I was quite interested and excited about the perspective that we would share with regards to the team bonding yesterday. And we talked about bonding and building, what do you call it now, a team. And I realized that one of the things that has to happen is that you cannot bond in a team, that you cannot build a team without actually taking care of the place of bonding. Bonding most times would accelerate or facilitate the power and the possibilities behind what do you call it now, behind building. So that's what we did yesterday. So let's just get straight to the matter. I guess safety people join us once the connection is better. So we're talking about the performance commandment. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to recognize that performance is always linked.
Good morning, sir.
Finally, what happened to you? Can you hear me? Hello? Safety chick, are you there?
I don't know if I can hear you, but after I speak. Yes, I am. I'm speaking. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
You need to throw your phone away. I can hear you now.
It's like there is a lag.
Okay. Who have you offended? Okay, so maybe what we'll do is let's take the news.
Can you hear me exactly now?
Now I can hear you. Maybe we should try to take the news. We'll come back and then we'll go straight into the matter of the day. So let's just take the news and then we'll come back. Once again, if if you're watching this, this is the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Itayo, and we're excited to be here today. Today is Wednesday, and it's an opportunity to be right in front of you, sharing your morning to let us know where they're streaming from, let us know where they're connecting from. Let them share with us their conversation on the topic of the day and on the matters arising from the news, from the updates, from the headlines, and also from our guest analysts. We also give opportunity for the audience to ask questions, right? Today will be a day without a difference. We're going to be doing what we know how to do best. We're going to be talking about issues around and within the world of education. And today we recognize that a follow-up to the conversation we started this week on the commandment series is what we'll be doing. Um, we will be talking about the performance commandment today. And our goal is just to help you understand and shape perspective as regards to what the performance commandment is all about. I believe that performance is something that resonates with every workplace and every not just workplace, but every work culture, right? Work is designed for performance, really. What you call work is not just mere place or platform. It's not just you going to a particular place, but performance is very important. Performance is actually what also differentiates or distinguishes a particular individual to another, a particular employee to another, and of course, a particular organization to another. I believe that our goal is that once we begin to recognize the place and importance of performance, we begin to deploy the right things that we need to do. So this morning, we will be talking about the performance commandment. So let me start by saying this. It's important for us to understand that we must treat performance from the perspective of a must. And just like I said, let me welcome Safety Chick back on the show. Safety Chick, good morning. Welcome back. I hope the
Good
connection is
morning,
better
sir.
now. Finally, you're back.
Thank
I'm
God.
sure. I'm sure because when we started, we did not say good morning, internet. So it's time for us to say good morning, internet, as we would like to say. So good morning, internet. Good morning to the world. Good morning to Africa. Good morning to Nigeria. And good morning to everyone out there. So Bella Blessing, Safety Chick, made it back. All right. So
Thank
we're talking
you.
about the performance commandment. And I've done like 2 or 3 types of intro today due to the uh, technical issue. We couldn't get a live feed on the video immediately. So performance, like I said earlier, is a thing that we must consider as a must, right? Our work culture, our workplace is designed for us to perform. And I believe that the reason why anyone would be paid is also linked to the issue or the case of performance. So let's start with that. Maybe, did you get to see the news, by the way?
I didn't. I was trying to come in.
Oh, okay, maybe we'll try to do that before the end of the day. So let's talk about performance. So let me ask you the question. What is performance to you? If you were to be in front of an audience and you were asked that question, what exactly does performance mean to you?
I would say that performance is about meeting up with your set targets. So because it's relative, what is going to performance to someone else might not be performance to another person, and so that's why it has to be meeting up with your own set target, your own parameters of what performance should be in that context or in that situation. Yes. So that will be meeting your set target, achieving a set goal, or moving in a particular direction according to your set goal.
I wanted to say performance. You took that word out of my mouth. All right. So, of course, a lot of times, a lot of people uh, tend to miss out on on some key angles. A lot of people feel that there has to be some level of inducement or some level of coercion before they perform. And when we talk about that, especially with respect to the learning space, the knowledge sector, the education space, schools to be precise, um, should performance be cajoled? Should performance be induced? And if it's been induced, what does that connote? What does that imply? I'd like to hear your perspective from that as well.
I don't think that performance should be cajoled. I think that if somebody decided by themselves to come into a system, then they should know that they are there to perform. They are there to add towards the goal of the organization. And so if they are there, but they are not performing in line with what the organization is trying to achieve, and then they're expecting somebody to force them or push them in a particular direction, then I think that's being irresponsible. But again, that is why an organization must incorporate in its compliance and monitoring system how from the very beginning when someone gets employed, they can see that this is what is expected, these are the KPIs, and these are the things that can happen if you are falling short or if you are not meeting up. And that if you are not meeting up for any reason, these are also systems you can engage, to talk through why you are not meeting up and what can be done to make it better for you. You see, so if an organization has this performance metrics integrated into what it does from the very beginning, from when somebody gets employed in that space, what that does is everybody knows that it's like this place, your own wahala is too much. Yes, let it sound like the wahala is too much, but you will get to do what you're supposed to do. But again, because human beings are sometimes funny, if they can see that the system is not rigged to ensure they perform, they will tend to cut corners. And that's how people will say you might go to certain civil service agencies, and people close at their own will or come at their own will or do certain things at their own will because they've seen that there is no ingrained system that monitors that compliance. So ideally, it's not supposed to be coerced. If it begins to be coerced, then it means that the individuals involved do not ascribe value to what is going on there, or they are just there for their own ends, or they are there trying to take advantage of the system because the system does not have any means to checkmate them.
Fantastic. And I like the way you just put it, because I normally usually tell people that it's very important for us to know the drivers of performance, because we know that human beings are emotional beings. And I've come to realize that emotions drive our behavior. It also governs our actions and behavior. And I'm sure you agree with that. Now, because of that, sometimes you come to realize that a lot of people need something to be like a cause for their effect. I don't know whether you're following safety check.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Right.
sir.
So many times I've come to realize working with people, working for people, working through people, and having people work with me and for me, I've come to realize that it's very important that it's something that both the person that you desire performance from, or the person desirous of performance, or the person rating or assessing or benchmarking performance must be aware that there are different drivers of people's performance. It's almost like saying that different things drive us, and those are the things that actually shape why we do what we do. You know, I have watched you do work. I've worked on projects. You've seen me do work. I've seen you, during your summits, your school safety summit, like for example, to be precise. I've seen when you are on the go. There is the safety chick on the go, and there's the safety chick on the low, something like that. Just to rhyme, by the way. But you see, it's because of what drives us, and a lot of times some people, you get to see them, they are great at work, and sometimes you see them, they are very, 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 very low at work, and you find there's no rhythm of consistency, which brings us to that reality that we must recognize that they are drivers of performance. And I'd like to share some, and as I'm sharing them, I would like to also see your perspective of them. I believe that one of the most basic things that drives people's performance is the word what is required, right? I've found out that a lot of times some people mistake flexibility for lack of structure. So if I say, for example, Ugochi, we have something to do, we have a particular task to get done, you know, I just feel that when Ugochi comes in, Ugochi will just find a place, figure it out, hear what we're doing and all that. But for some people, it creates a paralyzed effect, or if there's a word like that. It makes them so paralyzed that if you don't say, Ugochi, please, I want you to use that pencil with that ruler. I want you to draw 7 lines, right? Your job is to draw 7 lines and fold the book or fold whatever and place it on the 3rd shelf to the right. You know, because it's not required of you, right? A lot of times you find out that people just don't do things as long as it's not required of them. And when it's required, what we mean is it's not under instruction, it's not under KPIs like you mentioned, it's not under job description. So many people is like they've been raised, wired, and centered or focused on what is the job description. I find this reality even when we have interviews. What's your take on that? You know, sometimes a lot of people will say, okay, I want you to be an office assistant. And then the person says, so what's my job description? And most of the time, that's when I say, yes, I'm in trouble, because your job description changes the day you start your job. Yeah, safety chick, do you want to share? Are you there, safety chick? Hello, safety chick? Oh dear, we lost her again.
So important, because if people are not clear on what they're supposed to use their initiative, but it's not even that, should I say, foundational role or foundational, what is expected of them, most especially if they are not if they have not performed that role before. But sometimes even if you have performed the role before, different workplaces vary from place to place.
Yeah.
What is obtainable in office A, when you take it to office B, they may tell that, oh no, that is not how we do things around here.
Exactly.
And so that is why it is important for that job, because the job description serves as a baseline that these minimum, this is what is requested of you, and then of course more can be added, as time goes on, but at the minimum, this is what is required. So I really think that that job description is important, so that everybody is clear from the beginning that, okay, this is what is expected. Now, when the job description is not there, what happens is the employer expects the employee to act a certain way. The employee does not know what is in the employer's mind, and because he or she does not know, then there is that disconnect, and so it leads to more should I say, more hurt exchange of words, as the case may be. And everybody feels like you should have known to do this. I said, no, but you shouldn't tell me. So I think really having that job description just helps. It really helps to solve all that you should have known or you shouldn't have known, really. That's what I think.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. It's the baseline. We need to understand the baseline. But when we talk about performance, we're not even talking about onboarding. We're moving away from entry. We are moving away from recruitment. As important as the job description is, we all know the dynamic nature of society. So let me give an example. There's a particular picture or image I like to show sometimes when I run some trainings, and relating to something we just said. So imagine you gave someone a job to paint the road. So to paint a particular line, maybe the gradient line on the road, to paint the road with a white strip, right? The job description is what? Paint the road. Is that clear enough? Let me ask you. Safety check.
Paint the description with a white strip. Is that what you said?
No. What I mean is, there's this white lines on the side of the road.
Yes.
So is that a clear enough description? Paint the road.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know you didn't want to answer
I know
anything
the
because you don't
example you
place
want to
somewhere.
say, because I just saw the
Okay.
picture just flashed in my mind.
Now you see. So paint the road, and then the person gets to the road and then finds a log of wood, and then begins to paint, and then moves again to the side and continues where the other end of the wood stopped, and then continues to paint the road. Why? Because the job description says paint the road, not lift the log of wood. And so a lot of
But
people
there's
will
a
say,
place for taking initiative in performance. There's
oh,
there's actually
you
a place
see,
for taking initiative in performance. You don't expect that everything will be said to you, but the point is the baseline is to be there. Then you are now supposed to use your own personal initiative to take that those key performance indicators in the baseline to the next level, because that is actually what is going to make you exceptional at work. Why is it
which
that you
is
go to some places of work and some staff are recommended for things more than others? I remember when I used to work in the airline, and one day suddenly they needed cabin crew to show up at an event where other cabin crew of different airlines were going to show up. And it like things just happened suddenly. I was actually supposed to do an afternoon flight, but my boss called me that morning, come to the office now. You are not going to go for a flight, you're going for something else. And when I got there, they said, so and so is happening in Ikeja, start going. And I was the only one that was sent, because before I got there, I had heard that they said, ah, is it not to go? It's only her, she can handle all of them. So I got there, and they were different. The other airlines can maybe like three girls and all that. I was the only one, and I held my own because they trusted me. They know that, ah, this one, anyhow, just send her, she can do the work. And so that's why it's important for staff to be exceptional. Don't just do at the limit of the baseline and say, ah, they did not send me the other one, because again, that was a lot to do doing all these things. Just do the basic and be going home. So there's a place for taking initiative. That's what makes you exceptional. That's what makes you stand out, and that's what makes opportunities to come in your direction. Because at the beginning, it might seem like you are doing too much work, but
I like
eventually
that.
you would be the better for it. I know that some of my colleagues look at me today and they're like, ah, this girl has always been different, you know. But if I had not always gone the extra mile, they would not be able to say that about me. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you so much. But I really want to, because for the benefit of those who are listening today and probably those who would catch on the replay, I want people to understand there's a science to delivering this kind of things. You know, you just said it and everybody's feeling, oh, you know, the next level, the extra mile, and all those things. How do we codify those things in practical terms? That's why I want us to understand that things that drive people. There's something obviously that drives you to be able to understand that you can deliver much more than baseline, because having done a lot of consulting work with not just within the education space, beyond the education space, most business leaders, business owners, supervisors, superiors, whatever it is, they always have this issue of what we just talked about. People doing things at the baseline alone. They are not willing by mentality, by intention, except for sometimes threat and compulsion, to go extra above the baseline. And it's because that is tied to what drives them. You see, I believe in Yoruba land, there's something they normally say. They say it's what the bird eats that it uses as fuel to fly. Do you understand that adage? Safety chick.
Yeah, I don't understand.
So it's, so it's more or less like saying what drives you is what will lead to your performance. And so everyone really must begin to ask themselves, apart from the description or the definition of what I am doing, whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's at work or off work, whether it's with friends or with colleagues or alone, what exactly is driving you? Because sometimes a lot of people misinterpret what we do, how we do what we do, why we do what we do, to the extent at which we do what we do. The reason most times is because a lot of people are oblivious of what drives us. And I think the very foundational thing that drives most people is what is required. And so for us who lead people, sometimes we must get to know, like you said, there is need for you to put things as required so that people will do their work, right? Safety tick, am I correct? For what
Yeah,
you've said is important so that at least we don't feel, oh, you are not doing anything. Let's ensure that we give people what is required, because that drives their performance. Some people, without seeing instruction, you won't get the best of execution from them. But let's take it a step
true.
further. Because when you do things that are required, there are many things in the workplace that would require you to go much, much more beyond what is required. Just like you said, just like my illustration. And
Yes.
We can't run away from that. So if you are desirous of more, one of the things you need to learn from the performance commandment is that begin to check. Can you step up a bit on what drives you at work? Can you step up a bit on what drives you on your pursuit? Can you step up a bit on what drives you in anything you do? So we have the required. I think the next thing that sometimes, and we need to talk about it, especially for educators, is that some of the things that drives people is reward. So if I say safety check, there's
Yes.
$1,000 waiting for you in my office, and I need you to come and pick it up. There's $1,000 in this envelope, safety check.
Mm.
Oh, he's not looking fat enough. That thing is looking like 100 notice inside or $1,000. But you see, once the reward shows, once people find that there's a clause to say the one who does this is going to get this, and that's why sometimes if you look at the application to some industries or the application for employment to some jobs, you find out that it's sometimes tied to the reward. And reward is a driver of performance. And I want you to say something like 2 seconds or 10 seconds about reward.
Yeah,
Reward.
it's true. Yeah, you are right in the sense that reward drives performance. When people know that there is something to gain, those who desire it, because you see, again, it's not everybody that rewards moves. I'm telling you, it's not everybody. Some people are just okay, like some people are just okay being just there. They just want to collect their salary per month, just do the minimum required and go home. Now, the people that a reward will drive are those that really want to be excellent, who want to be exceptional, So those ones, the reward will drive them. But again, it's also about knowing what kind of reward would be important to everyone. So sometimes people will think money. So everybody always wants an increase in salary and all that. Some people might want, if there's an opportunity to travel for an international training. Or some people might think, okay, if you have access to maybe more off days or something like that. So you have to, when you are designing rewards, bearing in mind that not everybody will be moved by reward, you must design rewards that can get everybody's attention, at least, even if not everybody, at least the majority. Because really, rewards are a great way to stimulate action and stimulate movement in the direction of what you want.
I like what you said. And I also want to add to that. People must realize, just like you said, it's not everybody that, you said, it's not everybody that is motivated by reward. But for the best, for the worst of words or use of best of words, I would say that, but everybody is affected by reward, directly and indirectly. Why am I saying this? Because sometimes the philosophy behind reward doesn't necessarily mean, like you said, not just money. Reward can also mean sanction. So sanction can drive you. For example, if you come late, if you come after 8 a.m., you're going to get a query, or you're going to be sacked. Consider yourself not to be working here anymore. You know what happens? The moment somebody sees that the reward for my action or the consequence for this is a reward in itself, right? They begin to shape up. And thank God you've worked in the aviation industry before. If we buy tickets and we're trying to travel, and they tell you you have to be at you have to check in 2 hours before your flight, for the sake of not losing money that you bought, let's say it's an international flight, you find out that a lot of times people try as much as possible to comply. Why? The reward for losing your flight is a driver of performance to get. I have seen, let me tell you something, I have seen in this short period of time, I have seen a situation that has happened to me and happened to other people, where the plane has not left. The plane is still there. The plane you would have gone with, you are looking at it, but you missed the check-in timing. You feel like crying as an
Yes.
adult, but you don't know what to do. Beg, you even go scriptural, please for God's sake, you begin to toast them that, but they tell you, some of them just expressionless. Sorry, sir, check-in is closed, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, sir. I said, the plane is still here. Sorry, but you see, that sometimes that's it drives money. It could be like you said, and I even like us to. I want you to maybe take a bit of maybe like in a minute. Try to keep it within a minute. For schools who are also watching and listening, school leaders, school heads, school owners, personnel managers, HR executives,
Mm.
how can they explore that? Hello, you said something about reward apart from being money, like days off and things like that. Can we relate that and integrate it to the school sector, the education sector? And what are the things that they can do that incentivize performance that is not limited to cash in itself? Because a lot of times, cash crunch might actually limit people from expressing reward in the place of cash.
Okay, so schools can look for things that suit their own budget. So for some people, it could be as simple as paying for them to go for a personal development training, either within the country or outside the country, but something that people can see the worth of the training and how they can see that that training is going to position them for, better opportunities in the future. It could be as simple as saying, okay, you have an extra week of leave, or those things, because you see sometimes um not sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's not money that drives people. People want a better quality of life. People want
Yeah.
other things that make life look more interesting, not just straight jacket, so you again, that's why you must know your context, because in some places it is money that they want. It's like it is everything rises and falls on money. But there are some places that the kind of staff you have, you can clearly see that it's someone, maybe even be recognition on the assembly ground, or it might even be that their picture is put up on the wall for a week or for a month, best staff of the month, or maybe speak at the showcase them on maybe the school day, those kinds of things, make people feel that their effort is not in vain.
I like that. Thank you so much. That's quite profound. So let's now fast track because of time. Let's just fast track. Now we are for those who are joining. Thank you for joining. Please share your thoughts, share your comments, and also if you have questions, do not hesitate to ask your questions. So let's take it a step further. We talked about the required being a driver for people's performance. We've talked about reward as a major driver for people's performance. Now let's take it a step further. I think another level of performance that people must be aware personally or the people supervising is that a lot of people are driven just by this principle. I don't know why, but just the fact that there is some level of respect. Respect just drives people's performance. I know that, and I know that also about you, safety chick, a little bit about that. you know, um, People just want, how do I put it now? They want their name to mean something, right? And that some level of respect, just because of it, just gives you a subject matter expert. That's a respectable name. It's a respectable reference. Like you said, you even used it best staff of the month, and then you put the phoneme the month, and those type of things just adds to some people. They just look at my name is now having an appellation in this place, in this field, on this sector. Oh, like some people say, I've been able to leave my mark in the sands of time. That in itself, it's some degree of respect. And because of that, it affects people's performance. And do you know that I even realized that apart from them doing, it also affects them from not doing, meaning that anything that would not bring respect to my name. Some people say I have a brand to protect. No, 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 no. I want something that would give me respect. So the prize to be won, you know. So that's
Yeah.
a drive for performance. I hope you agree with that as well.
Oh, yes, I do. I do. I totally agree because nobody wants to be somewhere and feel like they are inconsequential. So, sometimes you go to some schools and it seems like there are some star teachers. Anything that needs to be done, they are the only ones. And then the other ones are made to feel like they don't matter. What happens is when people feel they don't matter, they will also do their work in a way that doesn't matter because they don't care. So, and that's why one of the things I mentioned yesterday was school owners, school leaders, school administrators must find a way to make everyone feel that they have an important role to play, that without them, the system will not work well. So from the security man to the cleaner, to the teacher, to the reception, when everybody feels and owns that I am important for the whole thing to work, and they have that sense that this is how it is, they will all carry their work on their head. They will basically own it because they can see that their little role is not so little anymore. But when it seems like some people are the ones that are pushed as the high flyers, the best, and the other ones feel, okay, our own is not the best, that be they they will do anyhow. And you really do not want people to do anyhow. Because the truth is, a weak link can mess you up. Because let's even use this example of the coronavirus now. If all your teachers are trained, all your children are trained, but you have not trained your cleaners and your gatesmen properly, they will be the weak link to mess
Service
up the
erosion.
safety system you have created in that
Service
school.
erosion. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? Just to add to that, when we look at that aspect of respect, I've come to realize that some organizations used to leverage on that. That you might think it doesn't mean much, but it has a lot of power and effect. Where sometimes you get to have maybe the CEO, or you get to have the visionary or the visionary just come and just give an address and say, welcome back to school. Thank you all. We all made it. Blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. And
Yeah.
it might just be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes maybe 5 minutes. And sometimes after that same presentation or just short goodwill message, you see smiles on people's faces, as in just feel,
Yes, now.
CEO address,
Maybe like, oh, wow.
bro, that kind of
They
thing.
will.
And I had a training last week, Friday, a physical training, and the CEO of that school joined via Zoom. And really, it added that flavor, because just before I started the session, the CEO gave an address. It was less than 3 minutes, but it kind of conditioned the atmosphere for us. It was more like a walkover. And a week earlier, no, about 2 weeks earlier, I also had a training. Now, this time around, the school I did a training for, the founder and the executive management of the school, they didn't give an opening statement, but they were part of the training from start to finish online. And they were writing notes. I made a call and response. They also did call and response via Zoom. It just made them, the participant felt that no, this is a we thing. This is not, oh, yeah, you guys go and do.
Exactly.
And I was really, really impressed. It's a very top school in society. But for the proprietors and all the management, they didn't need to stay. They probably would have just stayed in the beginning, but they stayed all through till the end. Yeah. And they asked for materials. They asked, and I felt that is a school that has a we-centric culture. And that actually gives people that respect, that if my CEO can feel it's not out of place to sit with me in a training, then that training must mean something to them.
It's
And that
important,
training
yes.
means something to me. I feel respected, just like when I come on the show, and then, okay, I know, oh, safety tick is there, TT is there, and other people just join in and all that. I feel that feeling that, oh, there's some level of regard, and that's really something that puts a positive energy to all of us. And it must be something superiors must be deliberate about. Let's start writing with centric culture statements. Let's start
Yes, I
having a
agree.
way. Someone should not say the school now has 500 students. The school is the people, it's not the building.
Mm-hmm.
So we now have 500 students. Oh, thankful to your support, to contributing to the success story of the. Don't say the school has achieved You can say that in maybe public materials, but when you're talking internally, there should be the collective. There should be that connect. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because people need to feel like they are a part of the process and that they matter.
Okay, so let's quickly rush through the other drivers of performance. I think the next driver of performance is this next one, and it's a bit of, like, I'll call it the elder brother or older brother to respect, which is reputation. And you find that reputation most times comes as a result of your result. So your
Mm-hmm.
result is what earns you reputation, what you've been able to show. I remember the day you called me and told me about the WHO contacting you. I remember, and I was like, oh, safety chick, you are now the safety chick, right? You are not just safety chick. I think calling you safety chick is just for maybe very close in-house people, but you are the safety chick. Why? There's some level of reputation that has given you a signature name. It has made you become a household name. And a lot of times, that's what some people are gunning for. They want to be the best. Their name must define something great. When that gets to that point, they are not satisfied with just mere average success, completion of task success, achievement and attainment of routine success. These are people who are trying to move on to the point where there is reputation. I remember many years ago, there was a very, very prominent Nigerian that all he needed to do was to sign on a piece of paper, and the bank will honor that paper. He doesn't need to use the normal check or the financial instrument in those days. I don't know whether you heard that story. I don't want to mention
I
names.
heard it.
So all he needs to do is to just sign on paper. Once they verify that signature, it's as good as a check. Why? There is so strong reputation that if you are able to carry that insignia, that signature, you are there, right? It's just powerful. And I really want you to talk about reputation, because you are in a very good position to talk about reputation. Even your course actually is a course that is delivering value on reputation. True of us.
Yes.
Building
Yes,
a
you are right in
global,
that
it is
sense.
up there, recognizable brand, right? So
Yes,
reputation is a
reputation is
very,
so
very
important.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because reputation actually means that opportunities gravitate towards you, solicited or unsolicited. Many times unsolicited. People just know that, okay, this person is known for this, and this person would always deliver. And so they don't even look elsewhere. They want to come to you. They want your stamp on whatever it is they are doing, because they know that you have the reputation. And if we want to even bring this to the school system, there are some schools that when teachers hear that you work in so and so school, they look at you differently. I remember when we were supposed to host the school safety summit at a particular school last year. And the reason a lot of teachers registered to attend that summit was because they wanted to enter that school. They had heard so much about this school. They just wanted to, be. That means the reputation of that school was so high. People had gone and they just needed any opportunity to be in that environment officially. And so that is what reputation does for you. It helps you to get opportunities easily. It helps you to get things done easily. I will still use again the example of this game that myself and Niger Kids made. I've been wanting to have a safety game since 2017.
I
I
know,
had
I know,
tried.
I know,
Yeah,
I
I
know,
had
I
tried
know.
several things. The cost was too much. I had tried to get grants for it. It wasn't working. But you see, at the right time, because reputation had been built, networks had been built, it made it so easy for it to happen. And so, yes, reputation is really important, whether as a teacher or an educator individually, or even as a school. It just makes things work for you. And
So
even as speakers, you know that there are times that some big school brands may not want to call you, but once they hear that you have spoken at their fellow competitor who is at their reputation level,
mm,
all the invitations begin to fly in your direction, because they just feel, okay, if this school could call you, then that means you are really amazing, you should come to us too. So
Now, I would
reputation
like to,
is important.
fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm really loving this. But I would like to say something as someone who works with individuals and organizations on a management perspective, branding perspective, handler perspective, permit me to say that. One of the things that we need to get people to
Okay.
realize is that we spend about 80% of the time building reputation as opposed to guarding reputation. You see, we need to recognize that it's not about pushing and growing and fronting and all that. There's a major part that can actually make all the energy, years of experience, exposure, and all those things. It can come down crashing in a matter of seconds if
Very
you are
true.
not able to guard your reputation. And
Yes.
just like the holy book says, guard your heart, you must also guard your reputation. It's good to build reputation, but it will be a major disaster not to guard reputation. And most times we don't see many posts online about that. We don't even have it experiential in courses about that, in coaching programs about that. Why? Because everybody's reaching forth. You see, when you reach forth, have you noticed when you look at the armor of most soldiers, or you look at all those things, they try to guide their vitals. And the idea is because, or if you're familiar with sword fights, you have a shield, you have a sword. Now, once you begin to try to connect or try to pierce someone with the sword, it leaves most of your other body parts open and vulnerable. And that's why the shield is there. Are you getting what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
So
Yes,
we
I'm
must,
with you.
as we pierce through frontiers and through markets with a sword, sword of reputation, sword of recognition, sword of visibility, sword of significance, we must be able to ensure that we have a shield that guards us. One of the things that guards us is we need to guide ourselves from ourselves. Because one of the things that brings reputation to a point of crash is actually something you are not even seeing coming, is the iceberg of perception of your personality. When you become invincible, a lot of times I've seen many people nurture themselves to the point of growth and they become invincible to themselves. So they have a major projection of their personality that begins to break their reputation. And that's why sometimes you see a lot of time people rush out to do things. And I've experienced this personally too. And you find out that those things are not coming ahead, they are coming ahead of their time, or they are coming behind of their time. And then it begins to deplete reputation. Sometimes it's in the place of collaboration, and sometimes you come out worse of some things than best of some things. So we need to make sure that we guard our reputation. Most times, I,
Yeah.
I remember saying, we've said this before, recent times. We reviewed some things that happened with some people. And remember, you said something when I was laughing at saying that, Mr. Rotimi, you remember, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so that is because if you don't guard, right, if you don't guide your reputation, you might lose a lot of things, right? And
Very
and
true.
I like
And
us
this
to
is why I normally say to people that it's very important for you to be clear on what it is you want to be known for and what you want to stand for. Because when you are clear, when certain things begin to come in your direction and you can see that it is not in line with your set goals, it's easier for you to say no without feeling bad. Otherwise, you end up taking on things that would end up marring the amazing work you have done so far. And we should have this mentality that as we are building a reputation, it's not everything that is for us. Some things would a lot of things would definitely come to you because the truth is everybody wants to associate with something that is successful. However, as they come to you and you can see that it doesn't align with where you are going, it is important that you are nice enough to recommend someone else that is better in that area so that you don't put yourself in trouble. And this also refers to even when individuals, people that are people begin to want to do certain things with you, you on an individual level. You've got to be clear, because when you are clear, it's easy for you to respectfully say no and move it on to someone else who that is their niche or their area, to avoid issues with them.
And as I shared the last driver of performance as we close the show, one of the things I also want to say is this: it doesn't mean that it has to be until something wrong occurs. Sometimes it's just a reflection thing. We are different personalities at times, and because your reputation is also your signature as well, and there are things that you might just want to say that, look, there's a distinctive. You know, I might not be able to do this. It's not wrong. It's not bad, but I can't always be in sync with you on this because of distinctiveness. We are different. We are different kinds of people, so that matters. And I want
True.
to end with the last driver of performance, which is setting records, breaking records, making records. I've come to realize that whenever you're trying to be the first at something, when you're trying to be the biggest at something, the largest at something, anything that is positive in the STs, it always kind of make your spirit to rise to the occasion to do something. And I think that's one thing that we need to begin to raise for our people. We need to raise for ourselves as individuals, whether you're a consultant, you're a teacher, you're an educationist, you're an education professional, you're in the education space. Try to be the first at something, or try to break the record that was set before you. Try to reach out for something. The Safety Chick, you and Titi, you came out with one of the first collaborations in that dimension, especially within the education space. You come out with a safety book. It's one of the first. You've done safety compass. You've done fantastic things, school safety summits, first. And of course, these things actually add to some of the experiences you've shared, right? So in just a minute, please just
Yes.
tell us about that setting records, actually using that as a tool to drive your performance.
Okay, so the thing is, when you are a trailblazer in a field, and as you begin to do something well, it inspires others to begin to do that exact same thing. So what happens is, you are not supposed to be bothering your head about, oh, they are copying me or they are not copying me. No, no, I don't believe in that. What I believe is, if at all people want to do the exact same thing that you are doing, then they should just add their own personal flavor to it, so that they are different and they also get to stand out in their own right. However, your business is not to look around at what they are doing. Your business is to remain true to your core and keep doing your work amazingly well. Keep doing your work in a way that stands out, that makes you to think ahead. So where is the world going to? What's the next breakthrough thing that can be done to take you closer to your goal? Because you see, that's why it's really important to even know what your goal is at the beginning. So once you are clear on that, then you begin to think ahead. You become more creative. You become you just begin to think ahead of how to do things in a better way. So you just keep on, you find out you now end up always going the extra step, always breaking records, always doing new things, or doing an old thing in a new way, because you are thinking ahead. You are not fixating on who is copying or who is not copying. Instead, you are more focused on, how do I do better for my customers? How do I give them better value? And all that. So that just helps you to just keep, doing things ahead of the curve,
I like that. And ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great time on the Good Morning Education Show today. We talked about the Performance Commandment and some of the things we've shared. Because of time, we might not be to say too many things, but Safety Chick really has brought, these things to relatable terms that we can easily get to apply to ourselves. We need to be careful of one thing as we bring this to a close in trying to do all these things, setting records and all that. And we should be aware of the word slow down. You see, sometimes it might come from the best of concern, it might even come sometimes from the best of intention, but it actually stands a chance to rescue every other thing. As long as rest is in place, as long as you're taking care of your health and yourself, as long as you're continuously learning and you're not hurting other people in the process, don't ever entertain that word slow down. A lot of things have disappeared and do not exist any longer because of that word slow down. A lot of people have not been able to step into the place of destiny and deliverables. Why? Because of the word slow down. Whenever you hear the word slow down, and you've checked that it's not that you have health challenges, it's not that you are burning out, it's not that you are hurting other people, it's not that you're not still learning, you still have strength. but then you've been whispered to slow down. This I would like you to understand. You must treat that whisper as a trash in the trash can, because slow down is the syndrome of average. It's the symptom of satisfaction. Satisfaction is also the symptom of death. And so when you begin to slow down, every other thing begins to slow down. Your thinking begins to slow down. Your innovation begins to slow down. And then you begin to dwindle till you become a has been. And that's not our desire for you. Our desire is that you continuously perform. You see performance as a must. But the shocking reality is if you set a record, you will earn a reputation with it. You will get respected for it. You will get rewarded for it. And you are doing what is required. So whether you are the led or you are the leader, get to understand that performance is a must. Go into the week, go into resumption, go into reopening, go into the sector, go into your career, making blazing performance, doing awesome things, exceptional things in exceptional way. And you'll find out that at the end of the day, you will always have credit and growth and success to your name and to the things you do. I believe you've learned something today. Don't just stop at learning. Translate it to doing. Do something with what you've learned today. Do something with what you've heard today. Safety Chick has said it. I have said it. And I'm sure all our analysts are in sync with our spirit and they're saying it as well. So 5 seconds, one last word, Safety Chick, as we wrap up the show.
So, regardless of where you find yourself, always aim to do things above the baseline. Always seek to be exceptional and excellent in what you do.
Fantastic. I love that. Above the baseline. The base is the base. There's too many people. There are too many things. The base. There's traffic and congestion at the base. There's risk of infection of coronavirus at the base. Why not rise to the top? You see, social distancing didn't just start today because people at the top, there's social distancing. I'm telling you, result is social distancing. Significance and setting record is a way to social distance yourself from the crowd. And we believe in you. Remember, on the Good Morning Education Show, we always say this. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. See you tomorrow. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.